Hi, ladies and gentlemen. We're back with the second part of lesson 1.1 on sequences. Our essential question is, what is a sequence and how do I find the next terms in the sequence? So remember, on the first part of our lesson, we defined what a sequence is and the two different types of sequences we're working with, arithmetic and geometric. And we defined what a common ratio and a common difference was and what a term is. So we did all that. Now we're going to just do some work with that. So our directions say, for each given sequence, identify if it is an arithmetic sequence, geometric sequence, or neither. Find the common difference or ratio, and the next three terms in the sequence. Okay, so I have to do multiple things. I kind of color-coded it for you. So what do I do first? How do I find out if it's an arithmetic or geometric? So I'm going to look at the sequences. I'm going to look at them. So I'm going to look here. I'm going to look between my first two numbers. Okay, or these two numbers, or these, it doesn't matter. You're going to look between your numbers. And I'm going to try and see, I always try and do add and subtract first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of talk you through what's going through my brain, which is kind of scary, but we're still going to go there. So this is what I think. I think, okay, I have negative 25, and I want to subtract negative 40 from that. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to do that and see what I get. So you can get out your calculator and do that and see what we get if you want. So I'm going to do negative 25 minus negative 40, and I think I should get positive 15. Okay? Then I'm going to do that again with the second set of numbers. So that second set of numbers says negative 10 minus a negative 25. And I'll put that in my calculator. And if I put that in my calculator, I should also get, oh my goodness, positive 15. So I'm going to do it one more time just to make sure. Twice, it's pretty good, but 3 times we'll definitely know that it's right. So if I do that, I'm going to do 5 minus a negative 10. Put that in my calculator, and I should get plus 15. So what's the difference here? What am I doing here? I'm adding 15 every single time. So what type of sequence is that? If I'm adding, great, it's an arithmetic. Awesome. Arithmetic. Awesome. Good job, you guys. And then the next section here says find the common difference or ratio. Since it's arithmetic, it has a common difference, and my common difference is plus 15. Awesome. Okay. And then the next step says find the next 3 terms in the sequence. Okay, so I want to find the next 3 terms. Well, how do I do that? How do I go from 5 to the next term? Well, I'm just going to add 15. Well, 5 plus 15 is 20. And then again, I'm going to also again add 15 again. So 15 plus 20 is 35. And I'm going to add 15 again. So I can take my calculator and do this. I can do 5 plus 15 and get 20. And I can add 15 again and get 35. And if I add 15 again, I'm going to get 50, ... Okay? So there's my next 3 terms. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to do it again. We've got a couple more problems to do. Okay? But we're going to do it exactly the same way. So I'm going to look at this, and I'm going to say, how do I get from here to here, and here to here, and here to here? Oh, I can already kind of look at this and say, the number that I would add to 7 and 21 is much smaller than the number I would add to get from 63 to 189, because that's over 100, and the number between 7 and 21 is under 100, so I'm pretty sure that it's not going to be arithmetic. Does that make sense? Because the difference between, let me get here, the difference between these two numbers is much bigger than the difference between these two numbers. So it's not the same. And remember, arithmetic, it has to be the same number. So I'm pretty sure that it's not arithmetic. So instead of starting with arithmetic, I'm just going to assume that it's geometric, and I'm going to start there. So how do I do that one? I have a plan, and I can figure it out just like I did here, and I can do the same thing. I can say, well, negative 21 divided by 7 gives me what? Well, that gives me, oh, let me move that down just a little bit. I am so sorry. I want to make sure I have enough room. So I want to say negative 21 divided by 7 gives me what? Well, that's negative 3. And I can put that on my calculator again, right? I can say negative 21 divided by 7. And that's how I'd put it in my calculator. I go negative 21 divided by 7, and it should get me negative 3, okay? And then I'm going to do the next two terms. And I'm going to say 63 divided by negative 21. Well, that is also negative 3. And then I can do it again. Negative 189 divided by 63 is negative 3. Good job. So how am I doing it? What am I doing to get to each side? Well, since I divided here, that means I'm going to times by negative 3, times by negative 3, times by negative 3. So what type of sequence is that? Geometric. Great. Geometric. Okay. And if it's geometric, do I have a common ratio or a common difference? Right. I have a common ratio. And my common ratio is negative 3. Okay. I'm multiplying by negative 3. Good. So now the last thing I have to do is find the next 3 terms in the sequence. So I'm going to multiply by negative 3. So I'm going to take my calculator. I'm going to do negative 189 times negative 3. And I should get 567. Okay, and then I'm going to multiply by negative 3 again. And I should get negative 1701. And then I'm going to multiply by negative 3 again. And I should get 5103. Dot, 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 because it continues on. So it's keeping going. Good job, you guys. Okay. Lovely. Okay, let's go to the next one and see if we can figure out if it's arithmetic or if it's geometric or if it's neither. I just want to say it could be neither. Okay. And let's see if we can figure this out. So, let's see. Well, the difference between here and here is 80, and the difference between here and here is 40, and the difference between here and here is 20. So it's not geometric. Okay? So now I want to divide, right? So if it's not arithmetic, if it's not the same, I'm not adding or subtracting the same, I'm going to divide. Good. So I'm going to take 80, and I'm going to divide by 160. Okay? Well, that gives me 0.5. And you can put it in your calculator. I get 0.5. Okay? Another way to look at this, I just want to say, is what am I doing? I'm dividing by 2. And remember, I said I couldn't divide by 2. Okay, so I said I couldn't divide by 2. But another way to write dividing by 2, I just want to kind of talk about this a little bit, is I'm taking my number, right? And I'm going to write this out. I'm taking my number, whatever it is, 160, 80, 40. I'm just going to call my number X. I'm taking my number and I'm dividing by 2. Yes? Okay. So if I took my number, my X, and I put it as a whole number, and I took that X, how many X's do I have? I have 1/2. So what am I multiplying by? I'm multiplying by 1/2. So the same, dividing by 2 is the same as multiplying by 1/2. I saw that X divided by 2 is the same as saying X times 1/2. So, and that's what 0.5 is 1/2. I can write it either way. Just sometimes I just want to be careful that you know this. Sometimes you get a decimal that's like 2/3. That's, you know, 0.3333333. It's hard to write it that way, and it's easier to write it as a fraction. So just be aware of that. when that comes up later, we'll talk about that, okay? So again, I can do the same thing. 40 divided by 80 is 0.5. And 20 divided by 40 is also 0.5. So what type of sequence is this? Geometric. Great. So I'm timesing by 0.5. Timesing by 0.5. Timesing. Ooh. 0.5. There we go. And what's my common ratio? 0.5. Good. So how do I find my next term? Well, 20 times 0.5, or half of 20, if we want to talk about it that way, is 10. And half of 10 is 5. And half of 5 is 2.5. Dot, dot, dot. Okay. Good job, you guys. One last one. We're on the last stretch. Good job, you guys. And we're going to do the same thing. These ones look fairly close together, so let's see if we can figure out if it's arithmetic or not. So I'm going to take 31 and I'm going to minus 36. Well, 31 minus 36 is -5. Great. And then I'm going to take 25 and I'm going to minus 31. Well, 25 minus 31 is -6. Oh, and then 21 minus 25 is -4. So I have -5, -6, -4. Oh, that makes no sense whatsoever, right? There's no pattern to it. I'm not subtracting the same thing. I'm not dividing the same thing, because the second gap is bigger than the first gap. It's just a mess. So guess what that one is? Neither. Okay, there's no pattern to it at all. So I don't have to do anything and I'm done. Okay, so now what we want you guys to do is we want you to go ahead and do the problems that you have to. We have so few homework problems to do that are very similar to this, and just answer the questions. And then you have a small quiz on this section. And then we'll move on to the second one, the second section. Thank you guys. Have a great day. Bye.